the foundation system, or this foundation festival and the guide system, I think would be the best way to put it. It's weird. To me, it seems kind of weird. At first, I was looking at it and I was going like, that sounds so like wasteful. Like I think that there's easily better ways in game to kind of achieve what you're trying to achieve. I mean, one thing, we talk about smuggling missions a lot. Magnify the rewards for the amount of people that you have in group. Up to a certain point, maybe cap it, whatever, if you're afraid that the economy is going to get a little too hot. But, encourage players to seek and form connections with other players to increase their rewards. It's not an unheard of thing. In any MMORPG, it's often the same story. It's like, yeah, you know what, you can go and you can play by yourself and you can earn to maybe a certain level of gear, a certain level of rewards, whatever format the game kind of plays as. But when you engage in team play, generally those rewards get better and much more sought after. And one of the things that we're trying to encourage in Star Citizen is the idea of, not only do you want to have a hot ship, but you want to bring other people with you on that ship. And so incentivizing that, I think, is a much better way. It's one thing to sit there in a text channel and just try to explain something to someone. It's another thing altogether to show them and to have a reason to show them and something that encourages them. And the idea of like, well, here's a reskin of the Arrow, and if you do a certain amount of guides, then you can earn this ship, whatever. Or I guess, people are just going to try to outdo each other into how many guides they can fulfill, in the top 3 or the top whoever all get the ship, which, obviously we know it's going to get gamed flat out. And we should be building it into the game to encourage players to work together and to form teams together. And yeah, there are going to be some negative experiences. You're going to get people who are, just going to troll you, or you're going to get people that you just, in the end, you totally don't want to play with, but you're also going to find good people to play with at the same time. And that's, one of the things that you kind of want to encourage, especially when you're trying to stave off the idea that MMORPGs are single player games with just the option to occasionally interact with other players, because that can often create a very skewed perspective on the game and not a healthy one. When I was looking, I was going like, why would you do this? Why not simply encourage using, the crew and the squad and all these things like that? Why not use that to amplify rewards and encourage teamwork? And players can say, hey, I'm out there, I'm willing to learn, can I join your crew? Yeah, you want to help, we can talk, you can show me the ropes, that sort of thing. And I think that that's a much more productive approach than just having a text chat where you're going like, oh, okay, how do I do this, how do I do that? It's easier to show someone while they're doing something. It's one thing to open a textbook, it's another thing to actually do the thing that you're reading about. If you think about it, right, like whatever effort went into making the guide system, we could have we have missions and rating systems in the game right now. We have that UI, It's something that we don't really interact with because it's something that never really ever got fleshed out. But why not think about fleshing this thing out? Let's say here I am, I'm in my Cutlass, I'm delivering, smuggled goods to this station. But maybe I want somebody manning my co-pilot station. Maybe I want somebody manning the turret on my Cutlass. I want to get the most out of my Cutlass as possible. So what if I made, an advertised group within the server, and it says smuggling missions, and then through that UI people could then say, well, I'm interested in joining smuggling missions. They check that box off and they can then apply to join my crew, and it shows me where they are so I know if I have to go out of my way to get them or whatnot. But they can apply to join my crew. And as players do this, and as players complete missions together, sometimes you're going to run into some jerks. It's true. But as players do this and successfully complete missions together, they get a rating, even the most simple rating. Like this player, XX Deathlord 9mm, whatever, has got over 100 smuggling missions successfully completed with other players, and you go, okay, that's a good guy, that's a solid guy. Whereas the guy who has 0, you might look at and say, I don't know about him. Maybe I need to get into a text chat with this guy and have a little talk. And maybe, you know, or they just might mark themselves as a learning player or something like that. Things like that, things that encourage players to interact with each other and maybe make it so that when you're in that crew, automatically the mission that you complete is shared with your crew and everyone gets the full reward. Something that encourages teamwork. And maybe even the more and more missions you complete successfully, maybe it just adds a little spice to that reward, a little something extra. And maybe there are things that through that system, as you complete more and more missions with other players, you unlock certain things. As a subscriber, sometimes we get free guns and free armor. What if some of that stuff was automatically given to you as, you know, incrementally as you're completing missions? You know, a certain amount, like 25 missions, you get maybe a cool new pistol or a skin for a pistol. 50 missions, maybe you get, you know, a shotgun. And then 100 missions, maybe you get a paint scheme for one of your ships, something like that. Things like that, I think, are going to do a lot more good than just having like this thing like, oh, I'm interested in learning about, you know, trade, and then just opening up a text chat with another player and it's like, well, what do you want to know? And then, you know, just going through that when you can encourage players to get together in the game and just hash it out over voice comms. Like, I don't understand how, like, other than we got to do something with Spectrum. We got to make Spectrum worthwhile. And it's just like, why would you do that when, you know, people want to play the game? So why not encourage them to play the game and learn from each other, you know, in game, rather than, well, let's hash this out over text chat. I mean, how would that be like the preferable solution? Now, you might say, okay, a system like that would work for something like this, where you're delivering 1 or 2 packages to a destination. But what if I'm a miner? What if I'm, you know, running trade? It doesn't work that way, right? Because that money comes into my wallet. How does this person get a reward? And what you could do is create a system that maybe shaves off a small percentage for crew members, and you can kind of set that. How much do you want? And you can negotiate with people and things like that, so they get, you know, something, and it's something that is within your control. So you can be a little bit generous, or you can be a little bit stingy, and you develop a bit of a reputation based on that. You know, something that we would like to see in game, something that would be realistic, and players, you know, who want to get into mining have, you know, has refined X amount of tons of ore. Okay, this guy knows how to mine, so I'm going to bring this guy. This guy's a bit of a rookie. Maybe I'll be a little bit stingy with him and see how he does and teach him. Trade, you know, this guy, you know, has delivered X amount of tons of trade. Okay, so this guy's good. He's experienced. He knows what he's doing. This person, not so much. Be a little bit more stingy with them, and you can, you know, put effort into these systems that encourage players to interact with each other, you know, and not just go like, okay, well, you got mission sharing, so yeah, see you later. No, like you have to encourage and incentivize these types of things, and like a lot of MMOs have seemingly figured this out, and I don't know why this is such a huge, you know, thing to, you know, to get over. It's you know, if I were to play WoW by myself without ever interacting with other players, I would get to a certain gear level and then I would just be stuck. But because I do choose to play with other players and I do interact with them, even when it's not always the thing that I want to do in the moment, that allows me to magnify my rewards and learn a lot more about different aspects of the game than ordinarily I may be exposed to, as if I was a completely casual and non-interactive player. And, you know, I get those greater rewards for doing that. And Star Citizen should incentivize players to join up. There should be a reason to get in someone else's turret or to get in someone's co-pilot seat and things like that. I understand the intention behind the guide system, but I feel that it's mislaid effort and resources. You know? This is not where we need, the effort spent. We really need it in game. We need reasons to encourage players to get together. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people, myself included, flying around in the Star Citizen universe in multi-crew ships all by themselves, because really there's very little, if any, reason to bring somebody else on your ship, and there's not a lot of tools available to kind of ease, make that easier to find people to join up with. And that's kind of where I feel that the effort should be spent. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But when I was watching that guide video for the guide system, I just went, what are you doing? Why are you putting this in Spectrum when it should be in the game?
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.